Fred, welcome back, man.
Hey, let's go.
It's time for another block scheduling day.
That's right.
And we're just ripping the Band-Aid off and going straight for the kill shot. We have Corey Homer, newly elected. He is no longer candidate Corey Homer.
That's right.
He is now Corey Homer, newest member of the McKinney ISD school board. So let's just rock this thing here. Corey, glad to have you, man.
Dude, hey, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me to be on this and come share some thoughts and kick some things around.
You start us off, man. We always love to hear background and how in the world you got to this chapter of your life, whether that's family or moving around when you were a kid, like your current life with wife and kids, whatever your story is.
Okay.
Love to hear, how'd you get to this chapter? What's the Corey Homer lead-in story?
Okay. Grew up in Northeast Texas in a small town called Mount Pleasant, and grew up there. Went off to college at attended A&M University Commerce, Texas, former East Texas State. Now it's East Texas A&M.
Yep.
There you go.
I kind of like it. I'm kind of digging that new.
Yeah.
I'm kind of digging it. But anyway, did that and played football there. Wife and I, we got married young, and then as we got finished, I always knew that I wanted to go into education from a young age. I wanted to go be a football coach. I wanted to teach, and that's what I did. I went and got my degrees, and I came to McKinney in 2002 and started teaching. Got a teaching coaching job at McKinney North High School, and I started off teaching DAEP, and had a coaching assignment at North High School. So I was kind of split time between both campuses, and that was an experience, because they prepare you for what goes on in the classroom, but they didn't. There's nothing in there preparing you for what goes on into a DAEP classroom at the time, and that was back in 2002.
For our listeners that don't know what DAP is, you want to explain that for a second?
It's like just an alternative school, right? So if some kids make some poor choices or things like that, and they're not able to attend their home high school or home middle school or wherever, whatever classification they're in, if they're in elementary, middle school or high school, they kind of go off campus to a school, as a discipline type thing. And they're there for a certain amount of placement days. It could be 15, it could be 30, it could be 45, depending on, what happened or what they did. And, while they're there, you're still receiving instruction time. You're still getting all those things. You don't have as many privileges at that point, to be able to go do like you would have if you were, say, at your high school. Each district is different, how they decide to run that. It's a local decision. But that's where I was, and I taught English there, and also, when you have 4 teachers, and then you've got kids, throughout the year where kids start to roll in, get placed over there at the AP. Well, they all have their own schedules at their campus, so you have to follow those schedules. So, I looked up at one point, I had like a whole bunch of preps that, that I was responsible for making sure that those kids were being taught those things, because you just can't neglect them, right? And so you did the best that you could, and we got them in. Kids, they did their time over there, and so that sounds bad, but they were there for their time, that
for
they
their
were
assigned time that they
right.
were there. That's
and then
right.
they went back to campus, and then hopefully they made better decisions, and they were able to stay at their home high school.
So you were the English teacher.
At that time in my life, yes, I was the English teacher at that campus.
Now, did the school district at that time have a unified curriculum across all the high schools, or did they come with basically their book and their lesson plan from their teacher?
So what we would do is we would reach out to those teachers, and I would say, hey, talk to me, where are we, where are you, where is this kid, and then we would do the best that we could do to make sure that gap was being filled, and take that kid through the process of where they were, so they weren't missing anything specific to their classroom, at their home campus.
So how many students would you have?
Not many. At near the end of the year, we were starting to get several kids over there, but it wasn't
It kind of depends on the kids, right?
It kinda
there's
depends
not
on the
really
kids.
any sort of normal flow. It just all depends
Right.
on behavior.
It just depends on behavior. And
Yeah.
so that first year was, it was interesting. I learned a lot. I think, you learned so much just about how to handle kids at that time, because they're, at the EEP, they were there for a reason. They made a decision, and that was one of their consequences, is to go to the EEP. But I always thought that I did well with kids over there, because we're not there to judge. We're not there. We're here to help them. We're here to help them make better decisions and not go down that path. And I don't know. I just look back and I was like, that was I always thought, why am I here? How in the world did I end up at teaching at that campus at that time? But I go back to it, and I learned so many lessons about just how to approach, how to handle kids. And I think it was a big difference maker in my career in education. Because the next year I was able to get over to the campus at North, and I taught English. Then I just had one prep. Now I had a whole lot more kids. I probably had 120, 130 kids.
But was it like vacation all of a sudden because you had?
No, it wasn't. It was just kind of a different set of things, because now, I wasn't have to worry about this kid being in English 4 and this kid being in English 1, or this kid, being in English 2. Then, there's some art too that we have to make sure that we're getting, and I was maybe in the art. I can't even remember if I was the art person at that time or not, but there were 3 other teachers that were doing the same thing over at DEP. One person they did all math, and then they divided up some of the electives too there. So that was interesting.
When was this, Corey? What years were this?
That was in 2002, 2003.
Oh gosh, that's a long time ago.
It was over 20. Yeah. I mean, several superintendents ago.
Let's fast forward a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I want to spend most of our time in current history.
Sure.
So catch me up, bullet points of where you were, what you were doing, how life was over the last, 23 years since that's passed, Because for those of you that have listened to the podcast for a while, you've probably recognized that Fred and I struggle with having longer episodes than we intend to.
Right.
Our target runtime in year 2 is 30 minutes.
Hold us to it, people.
Hold us to it. Because I am editing my own question flow going, don't do that. Maybe, it just gives us more reason to have people come back
Sure.
to talk about other stuff. We don't have to have the full conversation in one sitting. Might have you back in 6 months and talk about something else.
Sure.
So, 30 minutes is the runtime. So bullet point, catch us up to current evolution, and then, get us to like 2024.
Okay. I knew I wanted to be a coach at a young age, and I came to McKinney. I was here for 3 years, left for an opportunity in Tyler. I wanted to go down there into John Tyler.
Was it John Tyler or Tyler Lee?
It was John Tyler High School,
Okay.
which is now Tyler High School.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So some of the names of the schools changed in Tyler. Tyler Lee is now Tyler Legacy.
Oh, because they're trying to like whitewash the whole Confederacy thing?
I don't know. It was just
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
But I wanted to go there, and I was able to go do that, and I ended up coming back to McKinney North. At that time, I'd kind of gotten into a different teaching deal. I was introduced to AVID, which was Advancement via Individual Determination. It was a college readiness program it originated in San Diego, California. Big into just organization, teaching kids that had the potential to go be successful, in college. We were identifying those kids and trying to get them into our program. We were teaching them organizational skills with binders, teaching them Cornell notes taking system. They would have to take at least one advanced course. They have to go sit for the SAT, the pre-SAT, SAT, and so when I was introduced to that, I just kind of changed my whole teaching career, because I thought, man, this is just a match made in heaven here. I love doing this, and helping kids, but it was kids that just didn't have that support system at home, and so we were bringing those kids in and teaching them all these AVID strategies, and of course we were trying to spread those strategies throughout our school. So when I came back to North, I was the AVID. I got to be the AVID coordinator there. We were a national demonstration school. We had different districts coming in here to see what we were doing, see what our kids were able to do.
No pressure.
And how, and I mean, they're all over the state to do that. So it was a pretty cool deal. And so I stayed in AVID. I went to another opportunity at Plano East. Was coaching over there, teaching AVID, and then I got to where my goal was to in the public ed was I wanted to go back home to Mount Pleasant and be the athletic director and head football coach, and I was able to do that.
How about that?
And so that was in 2014 through 2018. Had a wonderful time there. It was different going back home because people they look at me still being that's
the Mount Pleasant boy.
That's Corey Homer. He's he's a youngster, but I'm going back as a grown man that time, and so it was a great experience being able to be there with my family. Our families were still there. Casey's from Mount Pleasant too, so
Was that a high school sweetheart situation, or did you guys meet later in life?
I knew her. She was a couple years ahead of me, so she was kind of
Older woman, huh?
Older woman.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So, but we ended up going back there, and it was kind of neat being both of us being home there, and then came back to McKinney for the third time, and when we opened the stadium in 2018, I accepted the position as assistant athletic director and stadium manager. So we were charged with getting, after that thing was built and then they turned it over to us, we got in that building 3 days before that opening weekend of 3 home games in a row.
Oh, wow.
Right?
No pressure.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, in the first game, it was like that Thursday night, and North was playing McKinney High.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you couldn't put –
that was grudge match central, right?
Yeah, and then Boyd played the next night, and then we hosted on Saturday morning. It was 2 other schools that weren't in McKinney ISD, and so I mean by that Saturday afternoon, I mean everybody's just walking around like zombies. Everybody's feet hurt, they're tired, and but we had 3 days to get in there and get moved in. Like we're still working out of boxes at that time.
All the technology, all the press
everything.
box, all the materials.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was hard to get our, like Brooke and Randy Blue and Carla and like all of our team that ran everything from up in the press box, and to the video production system out there is just nuts, right? And been getting all of our kids in place, because they're the dream team. They're out there, they're doing the film and they're walking around with cameras and getting all that stuff to make it all be able to work.
Yeah,
it was a task.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but the people running the cameras are students.
Absolutely.
The people running the board and doing the director stuff,
yes.
those are all students.
They're all students.
So when you go to a football game at the stadium, what you see on the screen and the transitions and the fire and the graphics and all of that stuff, those are all students.
They're all kids.
And I just love that,
and,
man.
And it was so cool. From 2018 to 22, that was my time there. Is my last stint in McKinney ISD. How many kids that were able to go off and go pursue that into the university system and go and being part of that. Yeah, it was pretty cool. We had had phenomenal men and women and students that are in McKinney ISD, and I was just lucky enough to be a part of it and help to manage it and kind of help put it all together with our at that time. Sean Pratt was our athletic director. Jennifer Fraser was our associate, and Laura Cahey. We all worked. That's what we did, and we were able to put those productions on. And then Coach now is the superintendent. Jennifer's now the athletic director, and Laura's still in the athletic director. Assistant AD's position there. Colby Peak's in there. So I don't know. I was very fortunate to be a part of a team like that.
It has always been so cool for me from an outside-in perspective, because my kids, Charlie just finished 2nd grade at McClure, and our daughter Emmy is about to start at McClure. And so, like, Allison and I have become very, very interested in McKinney ISD in the last 3 years. And just to see the people that understand, you're not a teacher. You're not responsible for, the reading and writing and arithmetic or whatever, the 3 R's as they used to say. Like, you're growing a future adult. Like, You're not teaching a kid. You are shaping a future adult, someone who is going to live in a house and have a job someday and be hopefully a productive member of society, to be a good citizen, to maybe own a business, maybe, invest in real estate, to employ other people. Like, to see the educators and the administrators and the support staff that get it, like you seem to get it. It's like the kids running the camera on the sideline. That's not a student learning a skill. Like, you are mentoring a future adult, someone who's going to have responsibilities of their own in just a few years. It's like, man, when you think about it in those kind of terms, like the vision and the mission of being a professional educator, man, it's really a powerful calling.
It was, and it still is. My wife is Casey. She's 504 coordinator at McKinney High School. So if you're not familiar with 504, it kind of falls under the umbrella of special education. But 504, it's for kids to have like learning disabilities or any type of disability. And she's got like 500 plus kids over there that she sees after. We're talking anything from dyslexia to having a physical handicap or just anything. Like if you have vision problems or hearing problems, she goes in and she helps get those kids set up to where they've got a system now where they're going to be accommodated, for whatever disability that they have. And she takes care of that, and she takes it very serious. I took it serious. We're in the kid business. That's what we're about. We want to see our kids go be successful, and we want to try to provide them with as many opportunities as we can for them to go do that. And I've got same thing. I mean, it doesn't stop there. I've got a fourth grader, or she's about to be fifth grade. She's going to start fifth grade in the fall at Valley Creek, and she loves school. She loves her teachers. She loves her principal, and I mean, we are so blessed to live in McKinney ISD and to have the teachers and the administrators and our board to be able to go clear paths for our kids to go be successful.
Well, now you mentioned your wife, and the 504 program. Back in Florida, when I was in the public school system, we didn't call it that, but teachers that were in that had that 504, they were responsible for something called an IEP, individual education plan,
right?
Addressing particular students' needs. But wouldn't you say, as a teacher, whether you're at the alternative, at the AP, or in your own classroom, wouldn't you say that as the year went on, you began to understand, as James was saying, each individual student's, uniqueness, and you might speak to one student and very directly because that's how they receive it, and another might need a little more, kid gloves. Would you say that that's how you approached your students?
You kind of, once you get to know you, Jimmy Spann Jimmy always said it. He was the principal at North, and Jimmy and Jay, and of course Jay's now over at Central Office. She's director of Career and Technology. But Jimmy would always say, "Know your kids."
That's right. Know
your kids. If you know your kids, you're going to know and understand how. If they come in and like I had so many kids. I mean, you come through the door. They come through the door, whatever, Wednesday morning, and you can tell by the look on their face something's going on here. And that was because we knew our kids. And we know, okay, well, I know how he works. I know how his mind works. I know what questions to ask him to help him kind of pull him out of that little funk. And then, all right, let's get you back on track. Let's get a smile on that face. Let's get this deal going because, hey, we can't waste a day. We can't waste a day, whatever the situation is. And sometimes, back then, or even today, if that required just, hey, let's talk about this. Sit down and talk about this. Let's figure out what's going on here. Identify the problem and let's identify a solution. Let's go to work. How can I help you?
So let's get to current, because I want to camp out on current history for a little bit. So you leave the assistant AD role, and that was in 2022.
Right.
So that's after the bulk of COVID. So you went to real estate, right?
That's right.
All right. From there, you're still professionally, you're in real estate for your full-time job, and then obviously the whole school board thing we'll get to in just a second. Talk about the transition to real estate for a second. What was it about real estate that chose that you chose to go into after, gosh, 20 something years in public education.
Yeah.
How'd that come about?
That's a fair question. After doing that and living the life of, a coach and a teacher, we're talking, in the fall, football, just it consumes your time. It did for me, because that's what I was going to do. That's what I am. I was going to be an offensive line coach. I wanted to go be a coordinator, and I wanted to go be a head football coach, right? Well, to be able to do those things, you've got to earn the right and go put the time in to go do it, to go be the success, right? And so after so many years of doing that, and once I got back up here in the assistant AD role, I wasn't around kids as much. On Friday night, I'm not coaching kids though. We were more just being an athletics administrator at that time.
Yeah.
But when the stadium opened, I was there. If those lights were on, I was there, and I just I started looking at that and just the time commitment, and I was good with it. I signed up for it. That's what I wanted to do, but as I started looking, my daughter was I guess Lou was about 6, almost 7 at the time. And when I started thinking about that, and I was like, I've got one chance to be a great father, and I don't want to leave anything up per chance for her.
Yeah.
And she needs me. She needs me.
Yeah. And
I was doing what I was providing for my family. I had a great position. I love that position. I love McKinney ISD, but I knew that I needed to make a change, and where I could have my time for her, for my wife, and my family. And so as I was looking at things, I'd made some connections in town, and I knew that I wanted to get my real estate license. I thought this could be something that I could do, and that I thought I could be successful at, because I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy talking about stuff. I enjoy, going out and looking for things, like looking for land. It's almost like kind of treasure hunting at times.
Mm-hmm.
When you get a client that comes in and says, "Hey, I need 50 acres and needs to be no city limits, needs to be in the ETJ, and needs to have this and that." So just kind of like, okay, all right, well, let me get all that criteria down. Let me go start hunting this and see what we can find. But I thought, and I met Charles McKissick, who is a land broker, real estate broker here in McKinney. He's from McKinney, born in McKinney, and anyway, we through a connection, we were able to meet, and just a relationship started from there. And anyway, I got my license and started working for him, and that was almost 3.5 years ago, and it just blossomed and started, and I got to a point to where I thought, okay, I think that I can potentially step away from education and go jump in real estate all in. So that's what I did, and it was scary, because it was scary, because you don't. There's so many other factors that are pushing the market and everything that's completely out of my control, out of anybody's control, and you just don't know whenever that thing's going to stop on the track, if interest rates rise or what. It was interesting, but I think just because of my work ethic that I had in teaching and coaching that I learned there, I think that has propelled me to be successful in real estate, because I still treat it like, even though I'm not blocking, trying to figure out ways to block the counter versus an odd front or an even front, right?
Sure.
I'm figuring out ways that I can go figure out if I can get that person to, sell, or get this person to buy, or however, to accomplish the needs of our clients that are wanting to do that.
Okay, so you go from the academic environment where, if we're, not saying that you're there just clocking a paycheck, but, your paycheck pretty much is going to hit every other week. You leave that for I don't even know if there's going to be food on the table at the end of the week. And then you find yourself all of a sudden looking back towards the school system Where did that come into play?
It took a while. It took probably about 2 years, just because I was just so ingrained in the educational system. That's all that I'd ever known. That's all that I'd ever wanted to do. And so, when I made that decision to step away in 2022, it's like I didn't know what to do with myself. It's almost like, because there's not any part of the year where it stops. You've got your football season, you've got school starting, you've got football season, then you've got spring sports. I'm speaking from an athletic director's perspective. When you've got golf going on, you've got track going on, you've got baseball, softball, soccer's finishing up. Like it's and basketball's.
And don't let baseball be successful, because that sometimes will go
all the way.
It could go
into May.
Past graduation.
After graduation.
Deep into
Yeah. I mean, McKinney North just. They just finished out a kind of a magical ride to get to the state semifinals. They're playing, 5 weeks after.
It was like, oh, it's summer. Nope, not so fast, my
Not
friend.
so fast.
It ain't summer if you're in baseball.
You ain't going to Disney.
Right. So we were able to. I mean, just because I just like to do that, and I like to go. We love to go. I mean, we were able to follow them, but it was just going from my time being consumed with that now to me creating my own schedule. And trying to figure that out. And I'm still just trying to be better and more intentional, just of, do I need to be here, or can I work that in a different way? Instead of just being present in the office all the time. Now, being present in the office is very important to me, just because it's kind of like deep sea fishing. You just never know what's going to get on the end of your line, and you need to be there, and you need to be ready. You always need to be ready, because you never know who's going to call. You never know who's going to email.
Ain't it funny how those of us that are entrepreneurs, that are in a sales kind of position, we are the biggest bait for spam callers, because dadgummit, if my phone rings, I'm always picking it up. If I'm not otherwise occupied in a meeting or in a call, or if it's after hours, obviously I'm not picking it up if it's in family time. But if we're during work hours and that phone rings, by George, I'm picking it up.
I'm answering it. That's funny.
It's so funny, isn't it right?
Well, it's
you're
funny
the
you
victim
say
of so
that
many spam calls
all the time. And one day I was like, I'm not answering that. Well, it got the best of me. I answered it.
Yeah.
And it was a live deal. Like, it was not a spam call, even though that, the phone says spam risk. I picked it up, and it was a lead, and I got to go run with it.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what, I'm going to answer them. Man. And you just never know.
Folks, if you're not in a sales role, like listening out there in audience land, like when you pick up your phone and you see a number that you don't recognize and it says spam risk or spam likely, be honest, you're probably going to skip that call and let it roll to voicemail. And if somebody leaves a voicemail, then maybe you'll listen to the voicemail. Right. But for those of us that are entrepreneurs and in sales, like spam likely, spam risk, that don't mean nothing, man. I'm still picking that up.
You pick it up. You pick up the phone. Yeah. That's
All
right.
So you're in real estate. You've done this for about 2.5 years. And then how in the world do you decide, you know what, I'm going to run for school board? Because you went up against Chad Green, already on the board, already has history. He's already done things. I'm not going to get into what he's done or hasn't done. I have strong opinions about some things that happened in the last few years, and that's for a different episode. This is the Corey Homer show here. So you decide, I'm going to go up against Chad Green, who's running for re-election, who wants to stay on the school board, and you say, you know what? I think I could do a better job than him. I'm going to run for that seat. How does that go about?
It took some time. I knew that, because when that election happened, I was still employed with McKinney ISD, and going through that transition of me getting out, and now all of a sudden, felt like I just received all this time that I've never had, but I chose to do what I did, and so it was just kind of wait it out and just kind of see what was going on. And as as I was looking at it, I thought, I live in place 3. I'm vested in this community.
Yep.
I work in McKinney. I work in Collin County. I work Grayson County. I work the North Texas area. I'm tuned in to what's going on. And just the more that I thought about it, the more that I thought, I think I could do this. I think that I've got the time that was the big thing, is that am I gonna, because when I got out, I really enjoyed my time.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to just give it.
Well, and your wife and your daughter enjoyed your time too.
Yes,
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, and that was the thing, is I kept looking at Casey, and I kept looking at Lucy and thinking, how can I navigate it? Can I navigate it? And then I started kind of getting, a couple people asking me, hey, would you ever consider doing this? And so, which was already on my heart, it was already on my mind. And anyway, just there was a lot of praying, a lot of talking, a lot of conversations that I had. And when I made the decision to do it, it was like, okay, well, really don't know what this is going to look like. I've never run a campaign. I've never run for public office before. And, but I knew some people who had.
Yeah.
And when I met Rob Temple, he ran the campaign, and he said, here's what we need to do. It's okay. He said, he gave me a list of responsibilities. He said, we need somebody for every one of these roles right here. I said, okay. He said, I need that list. So we started working on it, and I started trying to fill those, put names to those responsibilities.
So you just picked up your phone, started calling people, and
yeah,
that's probably exactly how it happened.
yeah.
Or did you lead in with, I'm asking for a friend. He's looking at running for office, and you, or did you just outright just say, hey?
I just talked to him because I've known. I've got what I think is a pretty good network of people. I know a lot of people in the Valley Creek area, in and around McKinney, and quite a few of them are some old McKinney. And when I called, and I would ask, or I would sit down and meet with them, and I said, hey, here's what I'm thinking about. And would you consider doing this and helping us get to this, helping us reach this goal? Mm-hmm. And the answer was yes. And I thought, wow, somebody's going to do that, Yep. And then you go to the next person who I thought would fit that role. And I asked them, and they said, absolutely. Yeah, I'll help you do that. And so by the time we looked up, we had a team, and I'm telling you, you talk about tenacious, you talk about not accepting no for an answer.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about the team, that what they were willing to go do and how they were, but each one of those teams members of our campaign team, they put the jersey on, and we took off rolling.
Talk about that for a second, Corey, because that has got to be one of the most validating, affirming, proudest times of your life, when your friends and neighbors, people that aren't your blood, that don't owe you anything, choose to freely give of their time and energy to support something that you choose to do for the good of your city. Because, school board, I don't know if you guys get paid anything. If you do get paid anything, it's a very small number.
Zero.
Okay. I expected it was probably zero.
It's zero.
You are literally the definition of a civil servant. You are working for free on behalf of your citizens, your parents, your kids, your educators, your administrators. Talk about that for a second. How did it feel for you to have the affirmation of people in your circle that said, yeah, I will give dozens of hours, potentially hundreds of hours of my time over the next 3 or 4 months to help make sure that you end up on school board where you can impact the lives of tens of thousands of children in McKinney?
Right. I'm still just kind of, I don't even know what to think about that, because, being from, I've never done this before.
Yeah.
And if I had worked on a campaign team or something like that, and I heard that a lot too, throughout the time. Well, people tell, yeah, I've worked on a campaign team before, or, and I was like, okay, well, I didn't even really know that was a thing, because I'm so involved in just,
athletics.
Coaching and athletic, we didn't have, we got to go vote, and that was
That's
it.
right.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that kind of that whole thing existed. But I don't know. I'm so grateful, blessed that the men and women who said that, yes, we will help you do this. It's them.
Yeah.
It's not me.
Yeah.
I mean, I showed up and did the talking and did, but it was because of their work and their effort and their tenacious just going and doing it. And it's like, I wonder the same thing. Like, why, but it was, I guess is because they wanted to make sure that they were being represented in this school district in place 3, or place 2. Some of them were in different places, but most of them were in place 3.
Fred, do you mind if I ask a results question? I don't mean to jump ahead. Was there anything you wanted to ask before we get to it?
Yes. So during your campaign meetings with your staff and crew, did you have a whiteboard and did you draw out X's and O's and you're like, Johnson, you're going to take out,
take the A gap, Johnson.
Right. And we're going to open this slot and then you're just going to run it right up the gut. And did you have, was that what it was like?
Well, we didn't use terms like that, but we might as well had one in there. Like when I knew when Rob showed up, all of our meetings were I hosted them at my house. He has this Spalding basketball folder, right? That's where he keeps all his notes in.
Oh man,
with the fake basketball cover on.
Feels real, But when I saw that Spalding folder coming, I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, it's getting real.
It's getting real.
Yeah.
And
did he have the coach's shorts on the whistle?
He was he had
5-inch inseam.
That's it.
Mid thigh.
When Rob showed up with that, everybody knew, okay,
game time.
It's game time. We're going to get in here. We start at the table. He's going to come down. Everybody's going to give a report about where they are, what's going on, where their task is in this whole thing, and then he's going to say, okay, and we get that report going around, and then all right, here's what we got coming up next.
And people who didn't produce wall squats and court sprints.
Take a lap.
We were so fortunate that just our team. I cannot. When I say I cannot say enough about them, I'm telling you, they just crushed it.
Oh.
And then they're still crushing it right now because some of them moved over into another deal to go help in another in a runoff right now.
Well, so, this episode will drop after the final election day on June 7th, but so to the team out there, you're still supporting them.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, James.
Absolutely.
So we're getting to the end of the episode here because we said we wanted to be 30 minutes. It's 38 minutes. Dadgummit, Fred. Even when we try to cut it short, we're still because these conversations are so good, so good. I just don't want to cut them short. You mentioned a crushing it, and for those that don't know, out in audience land, the election results for this race were shocking. I mean, I've been around a lot of local elections in my time. It's not very often you see, and I don't know what the final number was. The last time I saw it, your number was 67% of the tally, which when you divide that into 100, you beat your opponent by more than 30 points. It was probably 34, 36 point victory. That doesn't happen very often in municipal politics. What do you attribute that result to? And I'm not going to ask you to bash your opponent. He did a pretty good job of that himself from some things that happened out in the public eye. I'm not going to ask you to say anything about your opponent on an individual basis. What do you think it was about you as an individual, the vision that you cast, the plan that you set in front of the voters? What do you think it was that they responded so strongly on? Because that was an avalanche of a victory. That was that flat out. In football terms, you were up by 40 at halftime. What do you attribute that to?
I think it just goes back to the plan that we created and going and executing that plan. And we scheduled as many meet and greets as we could. We scheduled and I attended as many events as I could possibly be at. and just getting out, meeting people, greeting them, shaking their hand, looking at them in the eye. Corey, why are you doing this? Why do you want to go do this? Are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? No, I haven't. I want to do this. If I'm going to be a businessman in this community, my wife's in education, my daughter's in McKinney ISD, attending McKinney ISD schools. I attended and worked in McKinney ISD for 12 of the years in my 20-year career in public education. I want to be involved in this, and I want to be making sure that our kids, our teachers, our administrators, they've got a clear path to go do what needs to be done, go execute our strategic plan that we have set and created and are following in McKinney ISD. And when people would ask me, why are you doing that? That's what I'm talking about, and then touching on the issues that were coming up, going on. I mean, that's just what I want to do. I know so many people have relationships with so many folks that are still in McKinney ISD to this day. And during the campaign, I started having kids that I taught that were coming up and voting. Coach, we're here. Let's go.
Man, that's so cool.
And it was such a cool, because you get to see those kids. They've won. They're walking around with families. They have won. And something that we did.
Yeah.
It set a spark in their parents.
Yeah.
We've had a small portion of that to help get them to where they are today.
That has got to feel so good for you,
right,
to have that kind of legacy where you can see your legacy walking around town with families of their own as adults.
Absolutely.
Gosh, that's got to be the best thing for you.
It is amazing. And they just, I don't know. And they're thankful. Well, I'm thankful because your success. That's what we were there. That's why we did what we did.
That's what community is all about, man.
So the real question is, what grade is Charlie going into?
Third
grade.
He's about to be in third.
So in 6 years, which high school are you going back to so James can send his son to be in your class to get some of some of that?
Because I mean, this is something you're going to have a hand in. The redrawing of where the lines are as far as making sure that campus populations are as balanced as they can be. Because obviously we got a bunch of campuses in the south part of town, real small. I mean, 200-300 students in an elementary school. McClure's got darn near 700.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're like right now, we drive past Boyd and drive another 10 minutes to get to North. We drive past Dowell and drive another 8 minutes to get to Cockrell. I'm just like, this don't make a dang bit of sense, man. Why are we not zoned for Dowell and Boyd instead of Cockrell and North? It's like, and Painted Tree is going to throw a whole big old wrench in everything, because right now it's not that big, but a decade from now, there's going to be darn near 5,000 people living up there.
That's right.
It's like, and I know we'll have you on at a later time, because we're not even going into rezoning. We're not going to talk about any of that. That's where we say, okay, next time you come in, Corey, let's talk about some other more specific, more in the weeds stuff. Because I'm just looking at these campus populations going, boy, you guys got to do something, because
figure out something quick.
Because Wilmouth Elementary is less than 2 miles as the crow flies from McClure, and it's half the population. And I was like, dang, school board's got some tough stuff coming on. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have that citizen engagement panel or whatever. Like when we had Superintendent Pratt in here, he was talking about forming basically a committee of sorts to look at that. Sign me up, Coach. I don't know if that thing is done yet, but yeah, I have some opinions on that.
Yeah.
So
no, those will be some big decisions that have to be made to look to try to balance out everything. It's
and that's hard stuff.
Right. It's nobody's fault. It's just that's where the declining student population is right now, is in the kind of the southwestern portion of our district.
Those kids grew up
Right.
They're not in elementary school anymore. They're gone. There aren't any more elementary school students in that part of town.
That's right.
I mean, you got mostly empty classrooms down there in certain parts of our town where you might have a campus with 100 students.
I think it's a little more than that, but there's a lot of functional space there.
Yeah.
You know, that's not being able to use.
I don't know what the data is. Sorry, I'm being a little bit dramatic.
Yeah,
but
no, that we were, and that was a good thing too that I was on during the campaign. I was on the long range planning facility committee, and we got to go look at that, study all of that, and study that data. You know what's being projected, where we are right now.
Yeah,
in every campus. You know, how much space it has and then how much functional space that it has. You know, and I think there was a little bit of things there.
We can't go there.
Yeah. But anyway,
but if we go there, I have like 7 more questions I want to ask you. And I know Fred has at least 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Your guys are gone now.
Things that I just parked. I'm like, you know what? We can have a round 2.
We can have a round 2 on that.
Let a few months pass. Let you get good and settled in your role.
I like it.
Because I mean, it's dadgummit, Fred. It's 45 minutes.
I was looking at my watch, going. I was like, our watch is wrong,
guys. We really are trying. I swear we're trying to make these episodes shorter. But there's certain questions we just got to ask.
That's right.
Okay. Any final thoughts on anything you want to leave us with? Anything you want to let the audience know about before we hit you with the final question?
I'm just to take an opportunity just to say thank you. Because it's hard to be able to tell everyone who cast that, all 1,925 votes that came in from place 3, just how much that we as a team appreciate you for believing in us, spreading this word, and for giving me an opportunity to go serve in this seat and on McKinney ISD school board. And it's something that I take very seriously. It's a responsibility, but it's one that I love. I enjoy. Being at graduation. I had people ask me, I mean, you got to go sit through 3 of those graduations, and I said, oh no, I'm not sitting through them. I can't wait to look that child walking across that stage in the eye, reach out that hand, and you shake that hand, you hand that diploma to him. And the joy that kid's in their eyes. It's 1,500 of them get to come across, and you do one school, and you do a 2 school, and your excitement's still there. And then you get to that 3rd one, and your brain's going, oh, I'm kind of tired of. Nope, absolutely not. You're not tired. You give the exact same excited face and excitement with your eyes to that kid that graduated last at McKinney High School. Not last, but the last person to walk the stage.
Yeah.
They deserve your best just as the first one did that morning.
That's right.
And I'm telling you, every one of those kids that walked across, just pure excitement. It's, I don't know, it's incredible.
It's a lot.
I enjoy it. Like, they're like, oh, Corey, how'd you make it? I was like, shoot, easy. Because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do that.
Yeah. And they scheduled all the graduations in one day, so
it was great.
You didn't have to come back and go forward, leave, and come back. So
that's right.
That's amazing.
Fred, hit him with that last question.
All righty. Okay. This is the one. No right or wrong answer. Who would win in a fight between a great white shark and a polar bear? They're in a body of water, 6 feet deep, of infinite length. There's no shoreline, there's no edge of the pool, no Marco Polo, any of that other stuff. Who would win in that fight? Great white shark or polar bear?
I mean, 6 feet of water?
6 feet of water.
How big is that shark?
He's a great white.
He's probably 18 feet long from one end to the other. The polar bear is 12 feet tall, though. Half the polar bear's body is out of that water.
I'm probably going to go. I may go with that polar bear.
Oh, why is that?
Those things are dangerous, man. I know those sharks are too, but with that water being out, I don't know. I'm kind of think he might have a little bit of, that the shark can't get out of the water.
That's true.
The polar bear can get out of the water a little bit. Right. He can see. He's got a little bit, I don't know.
Fred, Corey's on Team Polar Bear.
He is.
Yes. Are you Team
I'm Team Polar Bear. He's Team Shark.
I spent a lot of years in Florida, and I've seen sharks do amazing things in very shallow water. I've seen sharks move out of, into the surf to snatch something up and go back in, banking on the surf doing its thing. But we didn't introduce surf, but that's interesting. That's a good thing. And no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
No, but the real question is, your sister school, college, over in Amarillo, West Texas A&M, they now refer to it as WT.
Yes.
Your alma mater is now East Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. Do you refer to it as ET?
That's what it was called when, I got there in the fall of '97, and they had just made that transition from East Texas State to Texas A&M University Commerce. Mm-hmm. So my first, the first 5 years that A&M Commerce was in existence, everybody referred to it as ET. Just because they
East Texas State.
East Texas State.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm excited about the change.
It's back to ET again.
It's back to ET. You get to keep that heritage that was there for, almost 100 years.
What's your mascot? Don't tell me it's some alien with a long finger whose best friend is Elliot.
Oh,
right?
no.
That's where we gotta go, man.
You gotta go those lines, baby. You gotta go those lines.
He is Corey Homer. That's not the camera. This is the camera. We got some camera issues today. He's Corey Homer. He is School Board Place 3, right?
That's it.
And McKinney School Board. We're going to put his contact information in the show notes and the YouTube description. If you want to chat with Corey, ask any questions, get to know him better, a one-on-one, look forward to connecting with you there. Corey, thank you for your time today, sir.
Hey,
it's been a true pleasure.
Thank you for this invitation to be here, and I appreciate what you guys do for McKinney. Appreciate what you do for everybody here. Thank you for allowing me to be here today.
Love it.
All right.
Folks, it's been another episode of the McKinney Podcast where we celebrate what makes us unique by nature. We'll see you again real soon. Y'all take care.